Listen to me, you're not used to your avatar body. This is dangerous.
This is great.
This is Avatar, but you already knew that. It's not just a franchise, it's not just a cultural phenomenon, it's a way of life. At least according to its most overzealous fans. Over the course of 16 years, these ultimately forgettable stories have spawned one of the most rabid fan bases in modern history. So how did this happen?
It seems Awa has turned her back on you. Chosen one.
Avatar was originally dreamed up by legendary filmmaker James Cameron. And we mean that literally. At just 19 years old, James Cameron had a dream about a strange bioluminescent world with light-up stones and alien creatures. And that dream would eventually be rendered in state-of-the-art 3D computer animation in 1996. Yes, Cameron's first attempt at making his dream a reality would come directly after he'd wrapped production on Titanic. The project reportedly made use of fake CGI actors and cost the writer-director somewhere in the ballpark of $100 million. But unfortunately, the CG tech of the era just didn't meet Cameron's exacting standards, and so he killed the project. But Avatar didn't stay dead for long.
Celebrated innovator James Cameron has lived a dozen lives. Director, undefeated Little League coach, deep sea explorer, the list goes on, for he is truly a Titanic talent.
For an entire decade, Cameron worked behind the scenes with special effects house Digital Domain to improve upon computer animation. Production officially began in early 2006, and in December of 2009, Avatar was released to instant success. Not only were critics heaping on the praise, but Avatar swiftly became, and still remains, the highest-grossing movie to hit theaters ever. Audiences everywhere were enamored with the planet of Pandora, a breathtakingly beautiful world with an equally beautiful race of aliens, which were realized in unimaginable detail for the standards of the early 2000s, and that's about all audiences cared about.
I see you.
I see you.
As it turned out, the characters and plot of Avatar were pretty forgettable. Like, if you're not a super fan, do you have any idea what this guy's name is? Or this woman? Or this alien? Do you even know the main character's name or what he's doing on the planet? In reality, a lot of what was memorable about Avatar was memorable in a bad way, like Sam Worthington's awful American accent and his hollow performance as Jake Sully.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I am sorry.
Or the paint-by-numbers plot, which boiled down to Dances with Wolves, but make it blue.
We will show the sky people that they cannot take whatever they want. This is our land!
Or the comically basic name for the rare mineral our antagonists are looking for.
Unobtainium. Because this little gray rock sells for 20 million a kilo. That's the only reason.
It all came together to create a visually dazzling yet fairly uninteresting experience, and the world moved on. Or most of us did, anyway.
I forgot about it for years, but then I remembered that Avatar used the papyrus font as its logo.
James Cameron himself decided to get to work immediately on a sequel, and he devoted all his time and creative energy to it. There would be no more wholly original Cameron films. The impending Avatar franchise was going to be his life's work. And while the sequel would eventually materialize after 13 full years, there were those who kept returning to the home tree again and again until it became a sort of fixation. The excess of the Avatar fandom had barely begun to show themselves. Take, for instance, Mr. Avatar, a carpenter in Canada who saw the original Avatar 11 times in theaters. He wrapped his work truck in a vinyl sticker themed entirely to the movie and got Neytiri, the alien love interest, tattooed on his chest. Today, Mr. Avatar is about 95% blue. He spent over a decade of his adult life slowly tattooing his body to better resemble a Na'vi, which, you'll be forgiven for not remembering, is the name of the alien species in Avatar. And his truck is still wrapped in Avatar-branded vinyl.
I'm saying I'm crazy, obsessed. I don't know if you want to call it obsessed, but I just love everything about it, and I'm just willing to show it off.
But there are the fans who have learned to speak the Na'vi language fluently, and the amateur Pandoran historians who've committed themselves to archiving and memorizing as much lore as possible, and the cosplayers lovingly turning these CG characters into physical costumes, and the artists and writers who dedicate their skills to creating fan clans, which are essentially non-canon tribes of Na'vi from the various biomes of Pandora. Some devotees even take their fan clans into the real world in an attempt to foster communities offline. Recently, one of these real-world clans started to make waves in the fandom due to some of the, let's say, intense videos they share on their social media. It's almost too bizarre to believe that Avatar has inspired this level of adoration in people. Yet, the mediocre 2022 sequel, Way of Water, made almost as much money as its predecessor in an era where basically nobody shells out for a movie ticket anymore. And the upcoming threequel, Fire and Ash, will probably make just as much, despite it looking like another bland, dry story with beats we've all seen 100 times before. And it's not just the movies. Disney saw so much promise in Avatar that they decided to build an entire theme park land in Florida years before Way of Water had even come out. Avatar has now permeated almost every facet of the pop culture landscape. Which brings us back to the question we started this video off with: how did this happen? How did these movies make so much money? How have they had such a long-lasting cultural impact when everyone outside of the Na'vi role-playing fan forum has all but forgotten about them?
Do you remember the Avatar logo?
Yeah, it was tribal yet futuristic.
Papyrus!
There are a few reasons we can point to as possible indicators of Avatar's staying power. The first is that Avatar's simplicity may actually work in its favor. Basic stories are easy to understand for everyone. Not only that, but they transcend language and cultural barriers, making Avatar a prime example for international expansion. But as basic as they seem on the surface, there is actually a lot more to the world of Avatar than initially meets the eye. So if you really like what you see, then it's easy to open Pandora's box, so to speak, and lose yourself deep in the lore. Cameron has been refining this idea since he was 19 years old, and you can feel his obsession with it in every facet of the world. Fans can only learn to speak Na'vi because Cameron hired a linguist to create a real language from scratch.
Teach me more Na'vi words. What's wolf?
There is no Na'vi word for wolf, but there is one for website, which I assure you makes perfect sense.
They can familiarize themselves with the ecology of the planet because Cameron employed entire departments of artists and scientists to literally breathe life into the world. The microscopic details of Pandora underneath the glossy sheen of its story is really the appeal. Then there's the technological aspect. These movies are full-on spectacles. Cameron's push for realistic CGI broke boundaries in 2009 and continues to do so today. He's intent on making these movies look as believable as possible. And between the body and facial tracking, the lighting effects, and most recently the water effects, you might say that the Avatar films are just really impressive in overly long tech demos. And let's not forget that when the original Avatar came to theaters, it did so in 3D. When the wood sprites floated their way through the theater to land on Jake, it pulled you into a moment in a way that very few other movies have managed to achieve in 3D. And it had to be seen on the big screen. Cameron remains loyal to it and uses it in surprisingly interesting ways in the Avatar franchise.
So the Fusion camera was designed to be a state-of-the-art professional cinema camera.
Finally, and maybe most importantly, these movies provide a prime setting for wish fulfillment fantasies, like Jake Sully. It's easy for audiences to lose themselves in the awe of the utopian Pandora and wonder what it might be like to be a Na'vi and ride on the back of an Ikron. With each new movie, the world broadens to include even more appealing places and concepts that let us forget the cruelties of the real world, if only for a moment. James Cameron's decades-long passion and persistence has imbued Avatar with a quality we can't quite name, but we can feel. And it's the reason we'll be shelling out for the IMAX 3D ticket and limited edition popcorn bucket when Avatar: Fire and Ash comes to theaters. Hey, but that's just our opinion. What do you think about the Avatar franchise? Are you a super fan, a neutral observer, or an all-out hater? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss out on what comes next.